Hello everyone and welcome back to Factorio C Block. I'm Bobbin and you're watching episode 18. Look at those beautiful yellow bars. We've struck gold. Actually, we've had gold for a while, but I've started smelting it. Between episodes, one of the things that I did was I set up smelting for gold. Let's have a quick look at that. Okay, I set it up in the same building where I set up smelting aluminum in the last episode. So this is looking a little complicated because I've squeezed in gold. One of the reasons I did that is because aluminum production produces chlorine as a side effect. And chlorine, we were just venting it all, and there's still some potential for venting it, but I put an inline tank here to hold a little bit of it in reserve, and it's going in and being used to process the gold. Gold actually smelts about the same as steel, except that instead of oxygen for input, it requires chlorine. So we're basically taking our gold ore in and smelting it with chlorine gas, and that's about all there is to it. The gold goes out the back. At the moment, we don't have any coming in. There is a reason we don't have any coming in, and that is because gold production is backed up by zinc. Aluminum production is also backed up by zinc, so we would eventually run out of chlorine anyway. We're going to look at, it's not actually zinc that's backing up the gold. I'm not sure what's backing up the gold. Zinc is definitely backing up aluminum, and that's a problem, and we're going to deal with that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Before we do that, though, let's talk a little bit about science. I did a lot of research between episodes, and most of this research, unlike the previous set, was important. So I'm going to go ahead and read off a long list, I think, so that we know where we're standing. At the end of the last episode, we were working on Cargo Robots 2. This is for the Angels logistics system. That got finished. I also did Laser, Cargo Robots 3, Battery, Automobilism, Cement Processing 2, Electric Engine, Robotics, Flight, Metallurgy 2, Advanced Ore Refining 2, Advanced Chemistry 2, Electric Energy Accumulators, Stack Inserter Capacity Bonus 1 and 2, Logistics Robots. This is for the regular logistics robots, not the special ones from Angels. Construction Robotics, Modular Roboports 1, Modular Roboports 2, Railway, Rubber, Fluid Wagon, Sulfur Processing 2, and those are the important ones. The totally trivial one that I didn't really need to do, but I used it to burn up the materials and get the research done, was Mining Productivity 1 through 3. So we've done a lot of research between episodes. The next one that I'm sort of wanting to do is I'm going to want to work my way down to the blue science, because I think we've got everything we can do with robots at the moment until we get to more blue science, except for just a few things like character logistics slots and trash slots. So let's see what we need for that. Actually, I know what we need for it. We need the lab first. Once we get the improved lab, it will lead straight to the blue science pack. So let's get the lab. It's very cheap, 45 red and green. Very cheap by the standards of what we're doing now. It will finish very quickly. So let's just hit research and we'll go with that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to smelt 2 more metals today, and those are going to be nickel and zinc. And I've set up an empty building for it here, and I've set up all the empty stuff. Hey, our research already finished. I told you it would be fast. So let's go ahead and get the spectrum analysis, the blue science kit. It may be a little while before I actually get any of these made, but I've been getting the materials in, so we're definitely making some progress there. Let's go ahead and roll that beautiful bean footage. Okay. Coming back out here, what I want to do is I want to set both of them up in this building. And zinc, let's look at the details of what these look like. Zinc processing is kind of a weird one. It uses this chemical furnace instead of the regular blast furnace. And then we're going to have, it's going to need oxygen in, and it's going to produce sulfur dioxide gas out. This is just like lead, and I've gone ahead and hooked the appropriate hookups on the building on the outside here. We'll deal with it inside. The weird thing about it is it requires molten lead, and it puts out lead ingots. And these are actually in balance, so we can take and put a small amount of lead in it, let's say 24, and use them over and over again. So that isn't going to be any huge problem. It's just a little bit of weirdness. Let's see what we got over here now. That opened up a whole bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of it requires blue science packs, so we're not going to be quite ready for that. Probably the first thing we do when we get the blue science kit is we're going to probably get this one so that we can open up the military science. I've been expanding and I've been killing some of the worms as we go, but the last batch of them that I did, I'm getting some medium worms in there, so I really need some better ways of dealing with them. Let's look and see what else we would like to get here. I think there was something else I was thinking of, and I'm sort of, it escapes me at the moment precisely what I want. Let's scroll up and see if we need anything else for that. We don't. We just need to actually do the blue science. Well, I think maybe we go for the better boilers because I'm getting pretty close to having those materials. I don't have cobalt yet, but I'm about to make brass pretty soon and Invar, so that's not going to be too far out. We're not really using this that much right now. I do still have the boilers in place. It's sort of a backup power system. It does run at partial capacity. Might as well make it more efficient. I may have some remote locations that I use that for in the future. I don't know. Maybe I should actually start the research. Where did that go? Right there. Okay, heading back in. We need a chemical furnace, and I think I've got one. I think I made one a long time ago, and I've never used it. Let's see. Where would I have a chemical furnace? I don't have one. Let me go get some materials, and I'll be right back. My, what a lovely chemical furnace you have. I got some more materials, and we got it sitting here, and we're ready to go. I looked at this machine just a little bit. Let's select the recipe we're interested in here, the zinc. It's got 2 inputs and 2 outputs, and the outputs are both sulfur dioxide. The inputs are oxygen. Let's go ahead and hook up the oxygen. We'll just pop that down right there and put a pipe on that. Okay, the output, sulfur dioxide, let's take and get that disposed of appropriately. And we'll go there. That'll work. Okay, so the other one is the molten lead input. We've also got the ore input we've got to deal with. We can go ahead and run the ore up. That'll work fine. So we are now getting zinc ore in this machine, and we've got oxygen in it, and we're ready to deal with some of the outputs. Now the lead is going to have to be in a molten state to be pumped in here because it wants molten lead, and that is done with an induction furnace. So if we put an induction furnace probably just right here, that'll do just fine, and we'll tell it to be melting lead, like so. And I'm going to need to move the lead into the machine. Don't need a filter inserter because it's not going to input zinc with this recipe. Okay. That's not going to be a good location for it. Let's go ahead and put it there. And we'll connect this up like so. Now, the output of this process is going to go up and out. Let's take and do it on this side so that we don't take up any more space in the middle than we have to. We're going to have to do some stuff with the nickel. Let's take a look here. On this, I actually want very specifically to pull out only the zinc ingots, because if I pull out the lead, not only is it going to the wrong place, but the process will stop. So ingots actually go here, and zinc, that's silver. Zinc looks almost the same. There we go, zinc ingots. And that's going to come up this way and exit the building, just like Elvis. Alright. So this should be about ready as soon as I get some lead ingots in. And I'm not sure that I have lead ingots without having to wait for them a little bit. Let's take a look over here, and we're producing lead ingots here, and they're coming up, and they're going on this belt jungle, which I have expanded. I did a lot of construction between episodes expanding these belts. So this is the ingot arrangement. We've got the ore one below that, and we've got the angel's ores below that. But this one's the one that sorts all the ingots. We've got 7. 7 is not enough. We have to have a minimum of 12. So we're going to have to wait for some lead to come up here so that we have 12 ingots. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I have some lead. I went ahead and got 18 lead ingots. And there is actually some logic behind that number. Whenever you're in a situation where you're passing stuff back and forth between machines like this, and you need to make sure, this also applies to the filters, that the inserter never like stalls because one of them is full. I try to go for like 1.5 combines of the recipe. This one requires 12 lead ingots, so if I put 18 in there, the inserter will always function and there will always be some sort of crafting in progress ahead of what's needed. So that's sort of the logic on the quantity there. Let's go ahead and put these lead ingots in here, and they're going to be melted down, and we're going to get some molten lead in here, and this is going to go ahead and start. And then the ingots are going to go back in here, and it's ready to start melting some more. But we've got zinc coming out this side. So it looks like our zinc processing is working now. So we have zinc here ready to go onto the merry-go-round. At the moment, I'm just going to let it sit there. I will do it between episodes. You don't need to see me run a big belt loop. It's going to go right here on this line that I currently have marked zinc. And then it's going to come up here, and we don't use zinc to cast into plates, I don't believe, at any point, but we do use it to make brass, and so it's going to get combined with copper in one of these induction furnaces to make brass. Okay, coming back down, we still have nickel to do. Let's take a look at the recipe for nickel. So nickel ingots are going to require, and there are 3 recipes here, but only one of them is relevant to us at this point, 24 nickel ore, nickel ore, and 60 carbon monoxide, and that's going to get us 24 ingots. So what we need to do is we need a source of carbon monoxide, and there's a recipe for that. It's carbon and purified water. Now, purified water is something that I'm throwing away in the adjacent building. Let's go back over to here to where I did the aluminum and the gold. And we've got purified water right here coming out of this hydro plant, and it's just all being clarified away. So what I want to do is I want to send this purified water over to the other side. I've already got the external pipe hookup. I just need to do the internal one. So let's go ahead and run this over here. And we will run our purified water outside. And we'll just do that number with it to specify that it is for an output. Then on this side over here, we now have purified water coming in. And we're going to want to make carbon monoxide with it. And I suspect that's done in a chemical plant. Let's go back over here and look at it. Carbon monoxide. A chemical plant will do it. Alright, so I need carbon coming in as well, and that actually I did overlook providing a belt for. So let me get some carbon in here. That's probably going to come in right here. That's where it does it on all of the other buildings. So we'll just put that there, and we need to continue the line, so we'll use an underground for that. There. And we'll put a splitter in. And then we can just continue this line. We'll have to underground it here. Okay, so we should now have carbon coming in the building as soon as I hook up a belt here. There we go. So let's just pop down a chemical plant. We'll do it over here. I'll just use the upper half of the building for the nickel processing chemical plant. I've got one here somewhere. I always have extras of these chemical plants around. I don't know why. Carbon monoxide. Right here. Okay, purified water and carbon. Let's go ahead and get the purified water in there. We can just bring it straight across like that. Carbon I'm going to have to insert on a belt. I'm out of belts. However, I can fix the belt problem pretty quickly this time because I have a setup out here that is producing belts. That's all I'm doing with it. I'm not doing like the undergrounds and the splitters and the different colors, and I will do all that eventually. I know a good build for it, and I will just set that up at some point, but not right now. Okay, bring in the carbon over, and we'll dump it in here, and that will get us carbon monoxide out. The carbon monoxide is going to go into one of these, and we're going to be making nickel ingots, so it's going to go in right there. Where's my ore? You know, maybe I should save some belts. I'll just put that. I'll mark where the bottom of it was and bring it over here, and there we go. We've got to actually output over here, and our ore is on this side, so let's just do that. Nickel ingots, rotate the building. So the copper pipe doesn't quite reach. I don't, for some reason, I have one steel pipe to ground. That's not so great, but it will, it's not a huge problem. Just means I'm wasting one somewhere. You can put that there. And this is going to need fuel as well, so I'll have to bring that across. Fuel has to go all the way across the building in any case, so that's not really any issue just yet. So our nickel is going to go out the top. We'll just use a loader to get it out of there. Our nickel ore is going to come in the bottom. Okay, so there goes that. And now I just got to get fuel up here. And best way to do that probably is going to be to just run it through the building. Running this through all the buildings means that I don't have to have a line outside. Every one of these buildings requires these fuel pellets to run the smelters, so not a huge problem. But I am out of those, and that's a little bit of a problem. Okay, to get it up here, I'll use a splitter right there. And we'll just run it up here. There's a lot of extra space on some of these buildings, and some of them would have that anyway, but eventually we'll get into more advanced processing, and so I'll need the space. So we should be smelting now. And we are. We've got nickel coming up and going out the back of the building. There we go. So nickel is going to go on the merry-go-round, and the first thing it's going to get used for, I believe, is steel. Nickel plates are used for some very advanced RoboPort antennas, and that is the only use nickel plates have. So I'm not going to be making nickel plates and putting them on a bus. That would be a little ridiculous. However, the nickel ingots are also used in making Invar, which is used in all kinds of things, especially the military tech. So we're going to be doing that pretty soon. We've already got that technology, and we're going to start making those plates, and those are going to go on a bus because they've got to be used to make the research kits at some point. So that takes care of this bit. What else has been going on between episodes? Well, mostly just all this construction of putting these ingots on this big merry-go-round. There has been some rearranging a few things. I've got power running up and down this runway. You notice I did put lights down finally here, so I'm trying to, that's why it's like I'm calling it a runway at this point instead of just a bus, because it's got all the lights on it in nice neat lines. I moved this setup. It's further out now. It's got the same number of electrolyzers, but I have moved them further out to make space over here. I've still got to move this stuff off of here, and that's got to be very soon, because as soon as I start making a new kind of plate, it's going to have to come down this line. I'm leaning towards taking and creating a Factorissimo building and putting it in here and moving all this stuff in here, because I'm going to have to change the way this works a little bit. Over the long term, this slag is probably not going to get directly used in making ores like I'm doing right now. It will get used instead in making very large quantities of mineralized water that are needed for processing geodes into ores. That process requires a large input of mineralized water, but it produces a whole lot more materials in the same amount of time, so it's more efficient in that sense. Beyond that, really not a whole lot is new. I've just been sort of getting things going. I did find one little quirk that I had with my power system over here that bears mentioning. These Factorissimo buildings, when you look at this arrow right here, you'll notice that it says over on the window on the side, it says transfer rate 10 megawatts. Well, that's the default, and this building is capable of generating more than 10 megawatts. So if it were running full blast, there's no way we could get everything to the outside. It's dark in here. That's a little odd. Am I not generating any power in this building? What's my power looking like? It's not coming from that building. That's kind of interesting. I'm not sure why. Oh, well, there's a reason for this windmill here. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But let's just go ahead and finish the original thought. This transfer rate out is now set to 100 megawatts on this, so that we can actually export energy out of this building at a sufficient rate to keep things going. Let's put down a couple more windmills in here. I'll just grab some from this building over here instead of making new ones. The reason they're here is because all of these machines in here, the water pump and the generators, the boilers themselves, need power to function. And if the system ever shuts down, it can be a little bit of a problem to get the system started up. And when I first put this in, one windmill was enough to bootstrap it. It was pretty slow, but it would do it. Let's put some more windmills in here and see if it will start up. We have the lights on in the building now. Noises are being made. I don't see anything running just yet. We are empty here on the fuel pipes. That's probably part of the issue. The outside fuel pipe is also empty. Over here, our tank is empty. That's interesting. This whole apparatus for some reason shut down. I have no idea when, but it shut down and we've exhausted all of our fuel now. Oh, I see why. We filled up on mineral oil. I don't have a clarifier on this thing to get rid of mineral oil, and apparently it completely filled up on mineral oil, and as a consequence, the whole system shut down when it backed up. Tell you what, I'm going to do the old-fashioned kind of clarifying and just break the tank. So there goes 125,000 mineral oil that I don't have a use for right now. It will probably get replaced and have to break the tank again before I have a use for it. Although I do have the electric engine technology now, I believe. I definitely got the engines, and yeah, I got the electric engine as well. So I could start using this fuel oil, or this mineral oil at some point. But we should now be producing fuel oil, and it should be coming over here, and maybe running some engines. There we go. Alright, so this will fire back up, and we'll be good on that. That was kind of interesting. This is the plastic setup from the last episode. I haven't done anything with it, but it has run to the point where it filled up the chest and all the wood has backed up now. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I've got 10 labs running now. That's why research goes so fast at this point. So 10 labs all out there. And that's about it. I will see you next episode. Thank you for watching.